get this out of the way right now. Last night was not the best Super Bowl halftime show ever. The best Super Bowl halftime show ever was Prince in 2017, in the rain, with a do-rag, holding them curls down in that teal blue suit and his purple guitar on that purple stage with the Florida A&M Marching 100 providing the horns on Baby I'm a Star and Proud Mary like a marching band is supposed to sound when you add them to live music. Prince's amazing performance of Jimi Hendrix's All Along the Watchtower and the Foo Fighters, the best, and the version of Purple Rain that really just sent chills. All live, no lip syncing, all Prince. And that was and always will be the best Super Bowl halftime show ever. There will never, ever be better. Now, last night's thing? Okay, first I have to say that I did not watch the game because I didn't care. I watched the halftime performance on YouTube later because I spent my Sunday listening to jazz and eating noodles and reading radical books like good revolutionaries are supposed to do after church. But having watched the performance from a purely entertainment perspective, I gotta say, I was never a big fan of either Dr. Dre or Snoop Dogg. Nothing political. Okay, well, I did hate that Snoop Dogg album cover with the women on the dog leashes, but since I prefer my music chaotic, upbeat, and loud, I was never a fan of the low-key California vibe. So no, I was not impressed with Snoop and Dre. But yes, I did my little in the club dance revised for these 55-year-old knees for 50 Cent's performance of his hit In the Club. And although I will never wear such an outfit anywhere, I want to look as good as Mary J. Blige did in a sparkly two-piece and thigh highs one day. And I'm going to go ahead and give Mary J. Blige her props for singing for real after that dance number. But that fallout at the end, that scared me a little bit, but she all right. And all right is always one of my favorites. So I did a little dance to Kendrick Lamar's performance of his hit also. I also waited to see if the NFL would bleep out the line about hating the popo, and of course they did. I have no idea why people were so excited about Eminem. I never have been, but hey, okay then. I do like that song, but I still don't like Eminem. And hold up, what exactly was Dre doing behind him on that big white thing? Was he acting like he was producing? Oh my God, that was so corny. But wait. Did Eminem kneel at the end? And see, now we've got to talk about the politics. Because this was surely the result of Jay-Z's chess move of being in charge of the NFL's entertainment, because that's really what he is doing. While the league has pretty much erased Colin Kaepernick's name from its records and is facing the scandal of the exposure of its bias in concussion payouts, where the league diagnoses black players as having reduced cognitive function, more reduced than white players, and therefore black players receive lower payouts from CTE claims than white players. And the NFL is now facing a new lawsuit from Brian Flores, the former Miami Dolphins head coach, alleges that the NFL remains rife with racism, particularly when it comes to the hiring and retention of black head coaches, coordinators, and general managers. Flores was fired by the Dolphins in January despite a record-winning 3 seasons, and he claims that he was subjected to what he called sham interviews for head coach positions by both the New York Giants this offseason and the Denver Broncos in 2019. Flores says the interviews were only meant to satisfy the league's quota for interviewing candidates of color before the teams ultimately hired white men. And then he also said that Miami's owner, Stephen Ross, told him that he would pay him $100,000 for every loss. And the team's general manager, Chris Greer, told Flores that Steve was mad, that Flores was successful in winning games that year, compromising the team's draft position. Flores was a winning coach, but it was more important to the owners of the Miami Dolphins that the black coach lose than it was for him to lead the team to more wins. But none of that, none of those scandals were reflected in anything in the halftime show. And I guess people question, should it have been, since the NFL is about entertainment, so it says, and not about advancing social or racial justice. But I think we're beyond believing that sports is apolitical anymore, aren't we? I mean, the 30-second commercials that people love to watch during the Super Bowl cost $7 million each for 30 seconds. Single ticket prices to the game ranged from $4,900 to $9,000 and probably more. So you know there weren't a lot of working class folks in those stands, but for all the money that the NFL and the teams who played in the game made, the cheerleaders made little to nothing for their performance. NFL cheerleaders are paid barely minimum wage, and some have said they make only several $1,000s a year, though they might work 30 to 40 hours a week when rehearsals, workouts, charity events, and attending games are factored in. And the exploitation of cheerleaders is so bad that of the 26 NFL teams with cheerleaders, at least 10 of them have been sued by cheerleaders for wage theft, unsafe working conditions, harassment, or discrimination. In one instance, one of the team's cheerleaders said that she was paid less than the team's mascot, who made more than $60,000 a year. So, as much as I enjoyed 3 of the performances in this year's Super Bowl halftime show, I also know that it was a cynical ploy by the powers that be in the NFL, aided and abetted by Jay-Z, to deflect from the NFL's mounting race and gender problems and appease the wealthy, mostly white fans in the stands to make the blacks likable again. I should note that apparently Eminem was told not to kneel, but he did anyway. But it sure would have been nice to have a little more substantive rebellion to the NFL and its persistent problems than that, because no halftime show performance by any artist ever can cover up the hateration the league actually has for Black people and for women. And it's time for all Black and women artists to stop playing the NFL's game. Follow Luke Mon Nation on patreon.com/LukeMonNation for lots of great content.